This makes me so fucking anxious, dude.
Tell me where I went wrong, all I'm up to it right now. Ooh, I don't know everything, but I know that I don't wanna be middle-aged, missing my 20s because you got away. Ooh, I don't know everything, but I know that I need you, and all I see.
All right, let's start with Driving Away. It's track 1. Driving Away has such a nostalgic pop rock kind of vibe, like the 90s sort of teen movies. I grew up in a small town in Western Massachusetts. My high school was 7th through 12th, so I was like a little baby walking into a place where kids were about to go off to college. And then about 8 miles down the road, there was a college. So I was always thinking about like the cute older girls, and they're like, they would never be into me. Now they'll go for the college guys, shit like that. So Driving Away is super inspired by just being like a sort of insecure adolescent through, you know, your teenage years, and learning to be comfortable with yourself while sort of wanting things that you can't have, or thinking someone's out of your league.
I loved you since I was young.
Loved You Since I Was Young, I think fits super well as the second track in the EP, because it sort of builds off of that sentiment from Driving Away of that sort of nostalgic feeling of, you know, being young and in love, and, you know, what it means to feel that. And like, it's a real feeling even when you're young, and usually it doesn't pan out how you think it will. So it's sort of learning to, because you always have that feeling, you know, that you once felt. You always remember that person that, you know, first really made an impact on you.
And when she wakes up with a slice.
For Stage Fright, I think the biggest moment in the song and the meaning of the song comes down to one line, and obviously the title is in this line, but it's, I get stage fright when I talk to you. You know, like we play shows for hundreds of people, sometimes thousands, and never get stage fright, but then just when you just want to ask how the person's doing or how they've been, like that can be the most terrifying thing, you know, especially when you've lost touch with someone and you no longer have that constant stream of communication. All you want to know is just how they're doing and how they've been, if they're okay, you know, and to be so afraid to ask that question, or to feel like you no longer have the privilege of even having that knowledge of how they're doing is super sad. And to be afraid of just asking that question is really what the song means to me. I think Liked You Better will always be a super important song to us, and one that we both love forever. The sentiment of I liked you better before I loved you is so mean and cold-hearted, but I think there's some truth to it, you know, whether you want to view it as it gets hard when you tell someone you love them, and when you realize these feelings are real, and when you decide to really take it to the next steps. It's like, it's easier when you're in the talking stage, right? Or when you first sort of start fucking with someone, rather than when you tell them that. Why are you laughing? Is this not swearing? Can we not swear on this?
No, you can. It was just a funny question.
Anyways, I lost my fucking train of thought. Fuck. But what I was saying is, it can be harder when you tell someone you love them, and when you decide to take the relationship to the next point, and it's sort of easier and it can be more exciting when you don't quite know how the person's feeling, and you don't quite know how you're feeling, and you just like them, you know?
So tonight I'm gonna stay in bed.
Stay in bed. This is probably the hardest one to talk about on the whole project. It's the song I wrote to hold myself accountable for sort of not being good to a person that I loved, and the person who loved me. I think I realized writing the song that you get over someone faster than you forgive yourself. And it took me a long time to come to terms with that, and forgive myself for some of the... This one's hard to talk about. Yeah, Stay in Bed is a tough one. But it's been an important song for us to put out, and it was an important song for me to write. And I'll always be honest with, you know, the people that listen to my music and the people that support us, and I'm always going to write about what really happens in my life. And the reality of it is you fuck up a lot, and you're not always the good guy. And anyone that writes songs always being the good guy is lying. And I love the song too. I mean, it's sort of a pop rock song, almost a little hip hop in it. And it's super, super honest. And I hated performing it for a long time because I hated the words that I was saying to the audience and having people sing them back to me. But I've learned to love it just for, I've learned to be proud of myself for being honest,
Brace yourself before we know.
The only one that I've prepared for, I Saw Your Car. It's almost like a folky pop vibe. And I remember I had just written it after we got off the tour with Jaden. And it was the springtime. I was back in Massachusetts. And I was traveling back and forth from New York to Massachusetts a lot. And that was a loud car. Could you hear that? It's fitting. I Saw Your Car. Fucking car with the loudest engine in New York City drove by. What was I saying? I was driving back and forth from New York to Massachusetts like once a week to, record with Elton, to write together, to do shoots, whatever it may be. And there was a car about 15 miles, if you're driving from New York City back to my house in Massachusetts, about like 15 miles from being home, there was a car that was exactly the same car that a girl from my past drove. And one time I was just feeling weak and like I couldn't face my emotions. And one time I was driving back and I chose to drive like a town out of the way just to avoid driving by that car that I knew would be there because the car was fucking always there and I would always drive by it and always think of her. And then I got home and I was like, wow, that's kind of pathetic that I drove 15 minutes out of my way just because I couldn't face seeing an automobile. So then I started writing I Saw Your Car, and that's really the whole sentiment of the song. I'll drive 2 towns out of my way to avoid seeing that 2012 Silver and Grey. Middle Aged is maybe my favorite song on the whole EP. When we went to Stockholm to finish up Liked You Better with Robin, Elton and I did this session with these dudes, Carl and Cal, literally like 4 hours after we got off the flight, right? It was the same day. And we made this somehow being jet lagged and tired. I was in a city I've never been to. But right away, just everything was clicking, and it was one of those sessions where it just felt good off the bat. We all were getting along. I think I was excited to be there and excited to be in a new place. And I think Carl laid down the guitar, and it was just such just Swedish pop vibe. You're gonna hate that, aren't you? But that the Swedes fucking nail. And we started to write, and the line that came out in the chorus was, I don't want to be middle-aged, missing my 20s because you got away. I constantly find myself terrified to make the mistake now, like being in my early 20s, that is going to be the mistake that when I'm 50 years old, I'd have trouble falling asleep still thinking about, And I think it's an unhealthy way to live, always being scared to make that wrong step or that wrong turn. But that's the reality of it, and I'm terrified to do that. And I'm terrified that I've already done it, in any situation. Like what if I made the wrong step or the wrong turn? That is why the trajectory of my life is going to be different and not the way that I'd hoped,